Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys joining me for today's video. And guys, today we're going to have a discussion, and I definitely want your guys' feedback on this to give me your opinion of some possible rule violations that occurred from the Livescopers at the Bassmaster Toledo Bend tournament 2 weeks ago and the Lake Fork tournament that just finished up today. There's something that came up here, going to run it by you, and I really want you guys' opinion on this. Also, guys, big thank you out there to everybody that's been supporting Intuitive Angling here through subscribing to the channel, using my tackle warehouse links in the description, the solar bite links. I really appreciate that, guys, the support. And if you guys want to support the channel, that's probably the best thing you can do, is just click on the description of each video, use those links in there, and that really helps out. So much appreciated. Okay, guys, here's the deal on this. I got a call actually on my way down to Kentucky Lake right now for the first Toyota Series Plains Division tournament, and I got a call from one of the Elite Series competitors today, and apparently there's a buzz going around amongst some of the Elite Series contestants that some of the Livescopers at the last two tournaments have been violating the rules by foul hooking bass that they've caught on their Livescope. Now, the reason they're saying this is a violation is the Bassmaster rules state that any visual bedding bass has to be caught inside the mouth to be counted. And you can't intentionally or willfully snag a fish like that. So here's where we got the gray area on this. Guys, I have seen, for example, Rodman Pool on the St. Johns River. If you guys have ever been out there, it's a bunch of standing timber. I have seen bass bedding on that timber out there in the middle of a Rodman Pool everywhere. And down at the Lake Fork tournament, a lot of the guys in the tournament there, they were getting out in that timber and they were live scoping or spotlighting, which I prefer, individual bass in that timber. And quite a few of them, guys, when they were unhooking them, you could see on the video that they'd be hooked in the back with a minnow bait, or they'd have a jerkbait hooks all over their side and it wouldn't be in the mouth. They were not hooked inside the mouth, which, technically, if you're seeing a fish on Livescope, you're seeing a fish on the Livescope, you're visually seeing that fish on the Livescope. And if you snag that fish, or if that fish is not hooked inside the mouth, then the gray area, does it fall under the rule that any visual sight bass, bedding, or sportsmanlike, or intentional, or whatever, does that qualify for it to be an illegal catch if you've seen that fish on your spotlighters box and you snag that fish, whether it be intentionally or unintentionally? It doesn't really matter. But the point is it's not the same as if you foul hook a fish just fishing. Now, we've done it, everybody's done it, guys. We've all foul hooked fish just fishing with a crankbait or a jerkbait, but we did not visually see that bass. We did not know that bass was there. And the Livescopers are casting specifically at bass they can visually see on that video game, hooking that fish, bringing them to the boat. They're not hooked in the mouth, yet they're counting them as a legal catch. So given that, what do you guys think? I know it's a gray area because the bass rules say that visual bedding bass have got to be caught in the mouth. We do know that bass bed in timber, they are visual on the Livescope screen. So under that definition, you don't know if a bass is bedding or not that you're catching out in that timber at Lake Fork. And then again, just intentionally or not intentionally snagging a fish. Who knows, guys? If you say, for example, you see a little wolf pack of bass out there on a Livescope out there, and you're throwing your lure out through there, you're throwing your jerkbait or whatever, you can't get those fish to, seem to go on that jerkbait. Who says somebody doesn't occasionally just rip that jerkbait super hard when they get it right around those fish, intentionally or unintentionally? We don't know. Snagging that fish in the side, snagging it in the belly, snagging it in the back. So I want to know your guys' opinion on this. It's a gray area here, but it's also an area that needs to be addressed because there's Bassmaster pros talking about this after the Lake Fork tournament for sure out there. And another thing about that, guys, is that let's get into this one more thing I want to finish up with here. Everybody knows that has been watching that Elite Series tournament at Fork of all the Century Club belts that dropped. There is a bunch of pros, guys, that are outraged at how many Century Club belts were awarded at Lake Fork by live scoping and spotlighting for bass. It's like every one of those belts that were given away for the Century Club out there, if they weren't seeing a bass on a pixelized screen where they could visually cast for that fish, they never would have known those fish were there. So it's sort of like what, and this is another conversation I had with my Elite Series friend. He was talking about how it really degrades the people that have legitimately entered the Century Club Bassmaster, which you have to catch 100 pounds of fish over 4 days to be a Century Club member. But it diminishes the accomplishment of those anglers out there that accomplish that through traditional bass fishing means. And there's a lot of bass pros, a lot of Elite Series pros that are not happy about giving Century belts to spotlighters. That's just a bunch of them out there. And guys, one more thing, there is a ton of dudes that got fed up after Lake Fork. There's a bunch of guys out there that use Livescope that basically they're forced to be using Livescope, but after the Lake Fork tournament, they've gotten so disgusted that they are starting becoming more vocal about it. You've heard guys at the Elite Series weigh-in at Lake Fork, they were grumbling about it subtly, they were grumbling about it big time behind the scenes. When they go to the service trucks or out to dinner, they'd all be dogging, you know, Livescope. They don't want it. The opposition to this is growing each tournament, and it's going to grow more, guys, because in 2 weeks down at Grand Lake, it's going to be the same deal. A spotlighter is going to win the Bassmaster Classic with a jerkbait or a minnow bait. Same with Lake Fork. It's going to be the same for every freaking tournament. And the hammers out there, are the legitimate hammers, are just getting tired of it. They see it as diminishing the sport, which it is, and that's the reality we find ourselves in. But anyway, guys, the main thing about this video, let me know what you guys think. Should it be legal for Livescopers to hook fish outside of the mouth and be counted as legal catches or not? Let me know what you guys think. We'll talk later.